Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cosmic Waves Tarot. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see you today. Today we have a question from a community member who wrote in with a question about their dating life. And they said that they are newly into the queer dating scene, and this is a little bit of a different energy for them. They're now dating both men and women, and so they feel just a little bit overwhelmed but very excited by this chapter in their life. And so I'll do a reading for this person in general about some guidance that they can look for in their dating life broadly. And then they were also wondering about a person that they've seen a couple times now. So I'll also pull a few cards for that individual specifically, and we'll kind of just see what the picture is looking like overall. So thank you so much to this person who wrote a comment. I absolutely love this style of reading, so please do keep your questions and comments coming. I love hearing your feedback, and I love to read tarot for all of you. So I'm shuffling now, and I'm starting with the general guidance. How can this person navigate their life dating as a queer person? Is there something they should know specifically for this chapter? Anything they should look out for? Or just what guidance can the tarot offer in general? I'll shuffle one more time and we will take the cards on top. All right. We have the Queen of Cups, the Three of Pentacles, and the Nine of Wands. So now I will shuffle for this person that they're interested in specifically. And then we'll just get into the reading, starting with the dating scene in general and what they should know, and then moving on to this person specifically. I'll give another shuffle here. Do one more. What should this person know about the individual they are interested in? We have the King of Wands, the Chariot, and the Page of Swords. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this top reading, which is about their dating life in general. What should they know as they navigate this new area where they're dating men and women, new into the queer dating scene? So let's start there. Okay, for this reading in general, it looks like some really positive cards, and there's nothing that really gives me pause that is overtly negative. So off the jump, that's a good thing. These are all minor arcana cards, no major arcana. So the energy is not necessarily as strong, but in general, it looks like there's a really good balance here. We have a Cups card, a Pentacles, and a Wands card. So that shows me that there's a lot of balance, and of course this is affecting this person in multiple areas of their life. So let's go ahead and start with the Nine of Wands here. Wands in the tarot correspond to energy, creativity, sexuality. It's the fire sign of the tarot. And of course, 9 is the card that comes before the 10 of completion. So whenever we see a 9 come up in a tarot reading, it's that energy of like we're almost there, but not quite. And so in this card, we see this figure holding a wand, and he's kind of built this little fence behind him, and we can tell that he's about to put his last wand in place here, and then he'll have completed his project. So it's like You've been working hard and there's a little bit something more to do. But broadly, this card is all about resilience and just kind of being able to continue pushing through even when things feel a little bit stagnant. We can also see this figure has kind of this bandage on his head, so we can guess that maybe he's gone through some things. Maybe he's been, kind of acting in fits and starts. Maybe the building has not gone perfectly, but he's continuing to work on it. And so when this card comes up in the context of your dating life, and especially exploring the new energies of dating as a queer person, it looks like this card is encouraging you to have a lot of resilience and to just keep going. You might kind of feel, like you said, a little bit awkward or just a little bit overwhelmed. Maybe even you met some people that you thought were kind of promising, but then it turns out that that person wasn't for you, and that is totally okay. This card is saying not to get too hung up on feeling like you're out of place or that you haven't made progress. You are absolutely making progress, and the most important thing is just to keep working at it, keep putting yourself out there. Yes, you may get a little bit bruised up, and things might not go 100% as smoothly as you might wish from time to time. But of course, nobody's life is that straightforward. And especially when you are new to the queer dating scene, you're getting to know yourself. It's a very different situation, as this querent said, than just dating in a typical heterosexual context. So there's definitely a lot of learning, a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity. But that does require a little bit of resilience, and that is what this card is saying. So it looks like you have the capacity for that, but that's definitely an energy to focus on. Next, let's move on to the Three of Pentacles. Pentacles in the tarot correspond to our material world, things that we can touch and feel, like, for example, our body, our health, even our money, things like that. And here we see these three people working on a project. Traditionally, they are depicted as building a church, but it really applies to any situation where you're building something together. And so this card, like many of the threes in the tarot, is about community and building energy. Of course, it comes after the ace and after the two. So the ace is like the potential for something. The two is the very, very beginning steps. But then when you get to the three, the momentum is building a little bit and you're kind of starting to see some progress. And this card specifically comes up when there's kind of this sense that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So it kind of shows that what you can do with people, what you can build in community, is much stronger and much better than what you could do by yourself. And so when this card comes up, it almost always encourages us to seek out community and to really work on building something with other people. And especially because the context of this question is so focused on relationships and getting to connect with other people, meeting other people, I think this card just really, again, encourages you to get out there and even to form relationships that are not necessarily going to be romantic in nature, but just to build that sense of community. Especially as you're getting into the queer dating scene, it might be really helpful just to explore and hang out in queer-friendly spaces, even if you don't necessarily have the intention of meeting someone there. It might just help you to feel more at home and more at ease, both with yourself and with the community around you. And then you never know, maybe a connection that you make there will either turn into something deeper, or it might be a situation where you have a friend of a friend who introduces you to someone. And so again, this card is really just about getting together with people, working on something together, creating that village and that shared project that you guys can all collaborate on, and it ends up being something really beautiful. So definitely don't be afraid to maybe explore like a queer book club or some sort of cafe that's LGBT affirming. Those could really be good opportunities to feel more comfortable in this area. And finally, we have our beautiful Queen of Cups. Of course, the tarot does rely very heavily on these kind of gender norms, where the King and the Knight cards are considered very masculine. So they have that traditional, like, very brave, a little bit aggressive, more assertive energy. Whereas the Queen has a much more gentle and kind of deep, emotional, intuitive side to her. And specifically, cups in the tarot do correspond to our emotions and our relationships with other people. So I'm very glad to see a cups card come up here in this reading. It's always good to have a supportive cups card when you are asking a relationship question, and this is definitely one of those. So the Queen of Cups is someone who is just very in control and very secure in her emotions. She is someone that is very vulnerable, but that doesn't scare her and it doesn't make her weak. It actually makes her much stronger and puts her in this position of power. This queen is very, very intuitive, and she helps us develop our own sense of our emotions. She helps us connect to other people. It's a very, very wonderful card. And you can see here this queen is depicted like larger than life. She's towering over these cliffs, and she has all these riches at her feet. And the card is meant to depict just how vast and how rich our emotional life and our relationships really can be. So if we keep growing in this area and we feel secure and powerful in this area, there's really no limit to how far we can go and the benefits that we can receive. And so this card just encourages you to really dive deep into your emotions, probably keep a journal or something of that nature, where you can really explore how you're feeling about certain interactions and really to be able to track your growth in this area. It also encourages being very open, kind of wearing your heart on your sleeve without worrying that you're going to get burned. Of course, then this might require the resilience that we were talking about earlier, where if you are very open and vulnerable, of course, you might get hurt, but you have the strength and the fortitude to pick yourself back up and to keep meeting people, keep getting out there. And this queen just encourages you to go in with an open heart, assume the best of people, don't be afraid, and just know that there's so much out there for you. So I think this is a really, really beautiful reading on the whole. There's a lot of great advice in here. Again, placing yourself into queer spaces and communities is a really good way to kind of feel just more secure, more at ease, even just with yourself in these areas. Having the resilience and the strength necessary to keep on pushing. Don't be shy, even if you feel like staying in some days or you feel like, oof, that last date really was very awkward and ended very poorly. Just, brush it off, let it roll off your back, and keep going. And finally, be as emotionally open as possible. And just, I would look more into the Queen of Cups. What kind of energy speaks to you? And how can you embody this type of card in your dating life? So on the whole, it looks very, very good. I'm super excited to share that with you. And I hope that you just have such a wonderful experience getting into these spaces and meeting people from all different areas of life. It looks like this is going to be a really fruitful time for you, so that's super exciting. So let's move on now to the cards that we drew specifically for the person that you've seen a few times and that you're maybe interested in. Okay, so for this part of the reading, again, we had picked the King of Wands, the Chariot, and the Page of Swords. And what is immediately interesting to me about this drawing is that all the figures in the card are men. And so this makes me think that either one of two things is happening. Perhaps this is a person with a more masculine presentation. So either a man or just a person with maybe a more traditionally masculine energy, which of course can look many, many different ways. Or maybe this is a woman that you're dating or someone with more feminine characteristics, and you feel that you're more stepping into a masculine energy to balance that. Of course, absolutely everyone has masculine and feminine traits about them, and so this is not at all any commentary on the gender binary or any assumption about who is which gender. It's just an observation about these cards that in general there is some sort of masculine energy presented here. So let me start with the Chariot because it's the major arcana card here of this reading. The Chariot is about victory, but it's also about battle. We can see this young prince who is in his chariot. He's wearing this beautiful armor, and he's standing very victoriously with these two sphinxes that are pulling the chariot. And the card is very bright. It has this beautiful yellow background, so it indicates positivity and strength and happiness. So you can tell just visually that it's a very good card and very strong overall. So when the Chariot comes up, it shows that yes, you will get what you want, but you might have to kind of battle through something in order to get there. So I don't know what that might mean specifically for this person. Maybe there's some sort of life circumstance that is not the easiest. Maybe they are long distance from you, or maybe it's just not the easiest to see them as regularly as you might want to. Maybe there's some other kind of challenges that are presenting themselves with respect to this person. But if you decide that you really want to keep seeing them, you want to be with them, even though you might have to put a little bit more energy and effort into doing that, it looks like this will ultimately be a fruitful relationship, and you will accomplish what you want to with this person. So if you decide, no, we're going to try this and make this relationship work, then it looks like there is a really good outcome ahead for that. So I'm not sure if this is resonating for you or if there is some sort of challenge. It might not be, but it just might be that you have to grow in ways that are unexpected, or kind of fight with your own shadows that are coming up as a result of this relationship. All partnerships, all relationships, whether romantic or not, are kind of a mirror, and they can bring up things about ourselves that we don't necessarily love. And so this might even just be more of like a time where you have to go through some things. You might have to learn to be either more emotionally vulnerable or just have better boundaries. This can look many different ways. But the challenge of the Chariot could come internally as well. So please don't let this scare you off, because the other cards are very supportive as well. But it does look like, there's always some bumps in the road in an early relationship. But it does look like ultimately there will be a good outcome, a positive outcome here. You do just have to kind of ride through those initial learning experiences. Next, let's move on here to the Page of Swords. Swords in the tarot correspond to our intellect, our critical thinking, and our mind. They are the air sign of the tarot. And the page is always someone that I think of as an apprentice or an intern. They are someone who has a lot of energy and they want to grow in this area. They're very, very enthusiastic. And they don't have a ton of experience, but they are making up for it with their eagerness to learn and grow. And so, combining these two themes, it looks like this person may again present a lot of opportunities for thinking about things in a new way, or just stretching yourself on somewhat of an intellectual level. So maybe they have a different point of view from you on certain things. Maybe they have a different cultural background and you have to spend time learning about that. Or maybe they just have some niche interests that you don't really know about, but you are really excited to get to know. And so whenever this card comes up, it does just encourage that kind of voracious learning and that hunger, that desire to be open-minded, to learn more, to soak up information like a sponge. That's always the best way to go about things. And maybe this other person is experiencing that for you as well. Hopefully, in any partnership, each person wants to learn about the other. They want to understand each other's interests and be supportive of them. So hopefully you are seeing this Page of Swords reflected back to you in this person that you're interested in. If so, that's a really good sign that someone wants to connect with you on an intellectual level and not just physically. So I think it's very important to have this component in a relationship. So it does look like, again, a very positive card and a lot of opportunity here for learning more, stretching yourself, thinking about things in different ways, maybe even thinking about yourself, your gender, your sexuality in different ways. So again, very happy to see this card here. And finally, let's move on to the King of Wands. Wands, I had mentioned earlier in the reading, are all about creativity, energy, sexuality, vitality. And again, the king here is the more quote-unquote masculine expression of that. So it's someone who has a very decisive energy. They're very much in control. They are very powerful and just very secure in this type of environment. Here, this king is kind of looking off to the side. So it's not as direct or as harsh as some of the kings. For example, the King of Swords is looking straight on at the reader, but here this king is kind of looking off to the side, which is a little bit of a softer energy. So again, this could either be you or the other person. Either way, it's a really good card to have because one of you or both of you is just feeling on top of your game in this energy. This partnership is inspiring perhaps a lot of positive creative energy, a lot of inspiration, and it's not like you have to grow into it, you just feel very secure in it already. And so maybe you see this energy in this person where they have a little bit of that more just kind of assertive or assured sense about them. Or maybe this is you, which is, again, a really wonderful thing. And you don't have to be a man to have King of Wands energy at all. So this just goes to show for me that either you or this other person have a really good sense of who you are, at least in this area of your life. Perhaps you just really feel very secure in your inspiration right now, even in your sexuality with this person. You feel very affirmed and very comfortable with that. So that's just a really great feeling, and especially in a partnership, a really, really healthy place to be. So again, on the whole, this reading looks very positive. The Chariot does show me that, there might be a little bit of a learning curve, there might be some bumps in the road, but that is totally normal, nothing to scare you off, and ultimately it's a positive card. There is some learning opportunity here in terms of the Page of Swords, maybe a new way of thinking about things or growing into something. But then at the same time, you have the very supportive, stable energy of the King of Wands, who is very in control of his creativity, sexuality, and inspiration and energy in that way. So if this person is someone you want to keep seeing, it does look very positive. Even if it doesn't end up, quote unquote, working out in the sense that you're together forever and ever, it looks like there's a lot to learn and grow from here. And I would just also add that, if this relationship does not end up moving forward, it doesn't mean that it was a failure, and it doesn't necessarily mean that this reading is not accurate. It just means that, you saw something that maybe was not reflected here, or maybe you grew into these energies as a result of parting ways with this person. So there's a lot of different ways that this could play out, but based on the energy that I'm picking up right now through the tarot, it looks like continuing to see this person could be a really great outcome. So I hope that this reading was helpful for you. I'm truly wishing you the best. Like I said, this is a very exciting time, and it looks really, really positive for you. So I'm super happy that you're exploring the side of yourself, that you're getting into the queer dating scene, and I hope that everything continues to go very well. If things work out with this person, I wish you all the best. If not, again, wishing you the best, and I know that you will find the person or people who are right for you. So thank you again for your question. Please do keep commenting with them. Please subscribe if you are not already. And otherwise, I will just see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.